Speaking of brakes,
Yeah.
you go from Shimano XTRs to Mavens, which in my experience is two very different ends of the spectrum. Like, I'm not trying to put you on the spot to like talk bad about either or whatever, but like just as a bike rider riding two very popular brakes, what's the differences and what's taken time to get used to switching?
And he's ridden TRP DHRs as well.
It's true.
Yeah.
Herps.
And the terps were chirping. Terps were good. Chirping is a positive statement. Terps were chirping. They're a good break. I went to these Shimano or the Saint, and I was like, these are definitely lacking power for a modern racetrack, right?
Were you Saint or XTR?
XTR lever to Saint caliper.
Okay.
Definitely lack power. I think that's public knowledge. The Mavens are very, very, very powerful. They're also very powerful right now. Like all the power you want as soon as you pull the lever. So if your muscle memory is to rip on a Saint brake and then you get put on a brake with a lot of power, your muscle memory is still like trained to rip on the lever. And it like takes time for you to get muscle memory to be gentle with the lever, right? And also like there's different rotors, different pads, different combinations. I'm actually on 220s, which seems crazy because you would say, oh, wow, why would you want all that power? But I feel like the rotor is, when I hit it, is a lot colder. It cools faster. So like the rotor is almost like takes a minute for it to heat up. And it almost gives me a little bit of modulation, right? So it's like when I first pull on it, it's a little colder and it almost like gives me a little more modulation. But dude, like I'm going to be honest, at Leogang, when it was slippery, I was like, I wanted to stop back there, but I just locked the front wheel up. And it's like, it's not a bad break. It's user error. But I will say the more power you have, if you're not really good on the tool, it's really easy to grab a little bit too much and slide the front, or at the same time, like grab a little bit too much, lose the rear a little bit, you know, and it's the more powerful the brake, the easier it is to make a mistake when it's slippery.
Yeah.
The better you have to be. Like I want that power, but I need to learn how to use it.
Yeah. Did you read my Maven review?
No.
Because this is exactly what I said.
You can say whatever you want. Like you're not riding a sponsored ride.
No, like I rode them all last year. I had Mavens on my Giant, and that was more just like they showed up when they launched. When I built the bike, they were sitting there, and I put them on, and bleeding brakes on through a bike takes a time, and I was like, I'll just leave them on. I don't really care. They work. They're super good. They're super powerful. But that was my whole feedback on them, is that you have all the power, and the key is you have to know how to like use that power. So like just having powerful brakes isn't the answer to like stopping well. It's knowing how to use that power. And to me, like I always describe it, where like XTR levers with XTR calipers or Saint calipers, like the power builds. Maybe it's even like a linear progression of power being fed in. So the downside of that to me when I ride them is you have to pull through all of that build and power to get like max power. So it means they're all this modulation, but max stopping power is delayed to get to that power, versus Mavens, you start with all the power and then it's up to you to like back it off to like the amount you want, which makes it tough in exactly what you're explaining. If it's slippery or tricky braking moments, you can almost have a tendency to over brake, because you'll grab the brakes, get too much, let off, then be going faster than you want, then have to like back the power back on or reel the power back on. And
there's no room for that.
Totally. Well, but it is all muscle memory though, because I mean, I think I'm above average when it comes to braking. Like I know I'm pretty good at braking as far as like my abilities on a bike, but those are like, I think a lot of people were like, oh, you rode them on your bike, but you like shit on Mavens all the time. And I'm like, well, I was able to adapt the way I brake to them. It just took a little bit of time. It doesn't mean that they're the best brake for the way I like to brake. So,
and also you're mostly riding trail bikes.
Like, yeah, I mean, I rode them in Whistler for 2.5 weeks, you know, like it was a good experience to go there and be like, once you're used to them, you have all the brake you could ever want, you know. But I will say there's other brakes out there that kind of blend the worlds together of like peak power, called peak power with like modulation, where Mavens I think take a much more precise finger on the levers to get the modulation you might want.
Yeah. And I think most of the time when you're racing downhill, you want all that braking power right now. Like you want that. What I'm asking for, you want, right? And I've said this, I've said for forever, I've screamed like, I don't want to wait to brake. I want it all right now. Give me what you got. You know, I got 5 foot to brake and I'm trying to stop this thing. But when you're dragging it, you're trail braking, you're you know, it's slippery. You're on slippery, dry routes. Like they're polished and it's dry. It's hard. Like, so it's like, these are the world's most extreme conditions. And when you have an oh shit moment, what do? Grab on, right? You fear brake. And when you have all that power and you're fear braking and you're not confident under the world's most extreme conditions. This isn't riding slow on Wednesday at the bike park with your buddies. This is like you got 8 runs to reach terminal velocity and battle the best in the world.
Yeah.
You know, like to do what many people can never, ever do on a bicycle. So like when you just get shoved in this position with the brake, the bike, like the balance, and you're like coming back from an injury and the track's gnarly and all your buddies are dead. Like there's just bodies on the floor. Every time you stop, somebody's like on the side of the track. You know, it's like, okay, this is extreme. This is stressful. This is stressful, you know? And then you're trying to like do lines and pick up stuff that, you know, the best in the world are still not seeing. And it's like the amount of RAM the amount of like brain capacity that takes is overwhelming.
Got to reboot the system every now and again, you know?
Yeah,
dude. Sometimes
Clear
it just
history.
shuts down and the thing's just going. I just get the wheel of death.
the beach ball.
Like I just like pull over the side of the track and I'm like, oh my, like help, someone help.
Well,
you know, so I'm very great. I'm very happy with the way things have been going. Yeah, I haven't reached my goal, but also like the level took a big jump up, and I think it's a little unrealistic for me to start putting like with all these variables, me to put a bunch of pressure on myself and then be mad at myself too. Like this is not helpful.
I feel like I talk about brakes forever.
Yeah,
the whole Maven debate is.
Well, Troy Brosnan last year rode the codes for pretty much all last year. He rode codes, and then now he's on Mavens. But he was saying
that might have been 2 years ago, because once he's gotten to Mavens, he did the like fancy small rotor in the front, big in the rear.
Yeah,
to, like, get away from the front end tucking. But the big rotors is something you hear people talking about for temp. Like, and Mavens, in my experience, don't heat up hardly at all compared to other brakes, which I've been saying it, like, it's great for people that aren't as good at braking, because they're going to be dragging brakes everywhere. And those things like don't really glaze over or like have issues with heat as much.
Dude, their power is awesome when they're hot. Like with the metal pad, like once they're like, I noticed that on my e-bikes, the e-bike is so heavy and I'm running a 200, and it's like once they get hot, they like really are good, like really good.
Are you running metallic pads on downhill bike?
Yeah.
Have you tried running resin or anything?
Yeah, they just get too hot. Once they get hot, they just lose power. They're great until they get like bottom of Andorra hot, and then not so much.
Like a Fort William or something would be like kind of good for
Fort William would probably be sweet, yeah, where you have like braking and cooling, but when you're just like dragging them for a minute and a half, like, and braking hard and then dragging and braking hard, I found that the organic just kind of lost power once they got really hot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.